Okay, welcome. Just jumping in here to give you a little devotional thought here for a few minutes from Greater Grace Church here in our cafe. This is our lunch devotional. Maybe you've just tuning in. And I'm Pastor Steve Andrulonis, and let's see, what can we talk about today? Interesting thing. I think what does God, there's a passage, there's a really great passage, really great chapter, a lot of great chapters in Proverbs. All the chapters in Proverbs are really good, but there's a really, I like chapter 6 in particular for a couple of reasons. It talks about the ant, and it talks about the things that God hates. That seems like a counterintuitive kind of combination there. But the writer of Proverbs, Solomon, generally accepted as the one who created many of these proverbs. But he talks about the laziness of what do you do when you are lazy? Verse 6, go to the ant, O sluggard, and consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. How long would you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. It's talking about diligence there, really. Like, how diligent can you be in what you do? And the ant, prepares, ant like goes and gets a crumb and brings it back to the colony. And once it brings it back to the colony, it's serving the colony in that way. Goes back and forth, getting a crumb, bringing it back to the colony. So that's an amazing illustration. And I really like when we think about where does God meet us at? It's at the ground level. We're actually, when we think about it with the ant, we're talking about below the ground level. And then we're also talking about Christ. Where did he meet death? He met death on the cross, and then he was buried away. So he got underneath everything. And so when we think about the nature of Christ and the nature of his combat, the way that he combated the issue that he took responsibility for. So we're thinking about people, we're thinking about human beings. They were given capacity. They were given capacity to choose. They chose wrong. That wrong choice in the garden created the fall, created the sin nature. And how did God deal with that? Not by just blowing everything away, blowing humanity away. We know that he did wash the world once. We know that in Genesis, that he, in the middle part, the early part of Genesis, after the flood, before the flood, the thoughts of people was only evil continually. Were only evil continually, so God washed the world in a certain way. And he took responsibility for that, but he did find a man. A man found grace in his eyes, Noah, and he preserved humanity through that family. But God gave man the capacity that he gave him, and he has bore on himself the responsibility for what man has done in terms of abusing his creation and misusing his creation. And that's the thing that we have to consider. Like, where people ask, where is God? Where is he in the midst of this? Why are people allowed to do what they do when they do terrible things? Like, it would seem like, well, God, you shouldn't have allowed that to happen. And then we wonder what kind of world we would have. Because, in order to have like the kind of high notes that we hear in music, there has to be like a lot of tension. There has to be tension on vocal cords. Like, if you notice a a violin string or a guitar string or anything like that. The high notes are on the thinnest string under the most stress, under the most tension. And so if we're talking about high beauty and high kind of things, it seems that the creator of the world understood the need for there to be attention. And maybe that's why it wasn't good for man to be alone. Had to bring a woman to have her own mind and create this kind of push and pull and this kind of dynamic between the personalities and everything like that. He could have created a woman like the animals for the man, but would that have created any kind of relationship or, created any kind of art or beauty or music or anything? Because there wouldn't have been any kind of tension. There wouldn't have been people pulling in different directions to create the kind of tension. So I don't know if I'm explaining that kind of right. But then Jesus, God, he said, go to the ant, go to the ant. If you're lazy, go to the ant. Watch the ant. The ant goes and gets a crumb. It just seems so small, but it gets it back to the colony and it comes back out. It just seems like this is if you can find these basic foundational practices, then your life might change. You might find yourself having more energy. So if you are feeling slow or feeling discouraged or feeling, and you're feeling lazy, then watch the ant and see what happens there. And so God is saying, I'm getting underneath things. So Jesus came to sort of fight in a different way. It's like the battle and the way that Jesus fought was not the kind of fight that we usually see. We usually see, when there's a battle, it's like, it's one force meets another force. There's strategy, but usually it's force. It's like whether it's on a football field, the forceful team with the good line, the good offensive line, good defensive line, there's a push and there's a pull trying to create a space for someone to get through or to stop someone from getting through. So there's like a collision of forces. But Jesus and, God could have muscled up. He could have just said, I'm just going to obliterate everything. And he didn't do it that way. God did a different way. This is like a thread through the Bible of how God gets underneath everything. With this thing, he says, the ant. And then when he came and died on the cross, he went into the grave. He could have, like, once he was there, he could have called down, like he said in the garden the night before he went to the cross. He said to Peter, put your sword away. Don't you realize that legions of angels are at my command? I could have wiped this whole thing out if it was according to the will of God, but it can't be won that way. This is like, we don't really think this way because we always think the brightest, the best, the fastest. The Olympics, the fastest always seems to win if you follow the rules. Like the American relay team, they dropped the baton again. It's like it's been, I think, 20 years since they won a medal in this one event, and they've had several disqualifications, dropping the baton or handing the baton out of the exchange area. And so that kind of thing. So we think the fastest, the strongest always sort of triumphs. But who's the strongest? Who's the wisest? Who made all things? And how would he fight and take responsibility for what he allowed to proceed in the world that he made? And the way that God handled it was to become a man, come from heaven to earth, take on flesh and bone, and get underneath things, and to defeat death by dying. And that's, usually people want to defeat, want to stop death by killing as many people as they possibly can. To armies try to kill as many people as they possibly can to keep their people alive. It's like, how much death can we afflict on the other side in order to make sure there's less death on our side? But Jesus, he died and went into the grave. And then that's the way the gates of hell, the councils of hell, were pulled under. It went, like the ant. The ant gets under the ground, and that's where they live. Like Jesus Jesus became small. He submitted himself to the dynamic of all of what it is to be a human being. He was tired. He was hungry. He was limited in that kind of time frame until he was resurrected. When he got his resurrected body, then he could do different things. Then he could like show up and disappear, show up and disappear. But it seems like when he was a human being, he just came. There were times when it looked like he was about to be killed before his time, and then he just walked through people. And so he just did that. He walked through a crowd, and he did that. But I think that's an important thing to understand. Like people wonder about how did God answer the need for justice? And the thing is, he took full responsibility for what he allowed to occur. It's like, it's not that he's distant from it. It's like he's not absent from the whole situation. It's just that he's not going to deal with it the way that we think we would deal with it. Just get your hands in here and fix things, Come on, just fix the whole thing, will you? If you were really good, you would just fix this. These people wouldn't be around anymore. And God is saying, there's a different kind of thing that's going on here. There's a battle that's going on that you can't see. And I came underneath the battle. I came underneath the angelic realm and lived as one of you. I experienced everything that you experienced. I even experienced a moment, a season on the cross when my Father and the Holy Spirit could not fellowship with me. And why did I do that? It's because I took the justice that was due upon all sin. I got underneath everything. And this way of operation took out all of the building blocks of accusation that the devil can pile up. He could pile up so many kinds of, well, this one did this, and this one did this and this. And he said, okay, it's all right. Put that whole load on me. You put that whole load on me, and then it's paid for once and for all. And it's never to be discussed again. All justice had been satisfied in the person of the Son. And that's what I think of it like. I mean, I'm thinking just one thought to finish this, that I should ask myself a lot. Like if I'm expecting someone to get what they really deserve, if I'm thinking that these people are doing things that are, if I have it in my heart and in my mind that, man, they should really pay for what they've done. And I agree that, there are things that need to be, God agreed. He actually, after the flood, he actually said, if there's a murder has to be answered by another kind of killing. The person who murdered has to be killed by the hand of a man, because it's the only way really to keep people from becoming totally murderous. That might have been the character before the flood, that there was just so much murder that God had to wash things out. But I think the answer for us is just to really think like Joseph thought when his brothers came to him and said, don't take, we know that now, Jacob has died, and the brothers come thinking that now Joseph is going to take his vengeance. And Joseph said, am I in the place of God? It's like, am I God? That's what he said. Am I God? God has been dealing with you ever since you did what you did to me. And there's no way that I could put myself in God's place and deal with you any stronger or any more thoroughly than I did. You realize what you did. I didn't have to do it. But God sent me on ahead to save many people alive. And we have to think of Jesus as he is God, He's not only in the place of God, he is God. And then as God, he came to our place. And then as God, the man, God the Son, and also the Son of Man, he put himself in our place. I am God, but I am in your place. And because I got into your place, I got underneath everything. So when you're feeling not so chipper, when you're feeling like a sluggard, just think about the way that Jesus became very small in comparison to who he really was, to get underneath things like the ant, and everything everything that hell has imagined and put together, and every kind of structure in the world system, Jesus took its legs out that way. You know, if we had just gotten into power plays, one power play after another, would this have ever ended? Anyone who knows movies, it doesn't. Just when we thought Star Wars was over, they started having like all kinds of new Star Wars. I thought the Star Wars was over, the first three. I thought that was over. I thought it was a good series. Why? And then they started making all kinds of other ones. Like, well, I thought like once they threw the guy down and Luke and his father were reconciled, I thought that was the whole thing. It was all over. But no, they got to talk, they got to recreate it all. It's like, So that's what I'm saying. It's like power plays could have gone on forever and ever. And God just said, man is my treasure. He's the one I made, a living soul with my breath. I want him reconciled to me. I'm going to take care of it myself. I'm going to take care of it myself. And I'm going to do it in a small way, not in an explosive dynamite way. I'm going to do it in a different way because there's more power in me giving my life than in my trying to destroy life with, muscle and everything. Okay? All right. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for sitting through this. And I'm going to go to another appointment right now. And I hope that was edifying and useful. God bless you.